Welcome back to Series 2 of Run With. With the current situation that we find ourselves in with coronavirus, I have decided for the time being to keep Run With on Zoom. It's not the format that I wanted the show to be on, but it is the safest and it works best with all the tiers changing in the UK at the moment with lockdowns. And also, as you will find out later in this series, it enables me to talk to some more guests overseas. We are kicking off Series 2 with the amazing Aly Dixon. Aly really is a Wonder Woman. She has represented England and GB over a variety of events and distances, and she became an Olympian in 2016 at the Rio Olympic Games. Last year, Aly also took the 50k world record and became the 50k world champion. She was also the British marathon champion in 2016 and 2017. Aly has a whole heap of experience, and I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you today. Hello.
You look cozy.
Well, I thought it would keep me warm and spread a bit of festive cheer.
Well, I've got my Christmas tree behind. So.
Yay! See, you've brought the Christmas tree, I've brought the reindeer, although I'm going to have to take the head off. How are you doing though? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, just plodding on, trying to get back to a lot of training.
Yeah, busy day, but making time to speak to me. Thank you.
Yeah, Tuesday is my quiet day, so because it's normally like session day, but I'm not doing sessions just now, so yeah, it's just my chill day.
So you have a bit. Is it more of a rest day on a Tuesday?
If I was doing like normal training, well, if I was in marathon training, my session days change because I do a 9-day cycle rather than 7 days.
Yeah.
But in just kind of, just ticking over training, I would normally do some sort of session on a Tuesday, but I'm just on getting back from injury training. So,
the injuries.
Yeah, I've been hit hard the last 2 months.
So what injury have you got at the moment or coming back from?
It started off, I had a bad back. We thought I had a stress fracture of the sacrum.
Oh, yeah.
Thankfully, the scan showed up that it wasn't, but it was an NHS scan, so we're not exactly sure what it was. I just got the letter saying there was no sign of a stress fracture.
Yeah.
So,
and then,
once I got back from that, I was about 2 weeks back because I didn't run for 4 weeks, and then my Achilles just out of the blue decided to hurt.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, I'll have good days and bad days with the Achilles, but as the physio says, like, it's something where you've just got to learn to live with it. With the
Achilles can be really stubborn, can't it?
Yeah. It says if you stop, it doesn't like, with it being a tendon, it doesn't like rest.
Yeah.
So, there's no guarantee that that's going to help it. As soon as you start back, it can hurt again. He says, but also it's kind of, just learn to live with the pain.
Yeah. I guess
keep check on things as long as there's no swelling.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Kind of battle on with it.
Yeah.
I do actually want to touch upon injuries because you've had a fair few, haven't you? And I think you're quite good at dealing with them.
Yeah, I've not had too many. I think just like, because a lot of athletes, they don't talk about injuries. They just pretend that they never happen, sort of thing, whereas I'm quite open with them. But yeah, I've been quite lucky. The last 2 years, I had the bursa in my heel, which it was kind of more of a years of build-up type of injury rather than an overuse or a trauma. And then that was 2018, and then I'd had nothing until this in October. So
yeah,
I had a decent run, and even before 2018, it was probably about looking at probably about 4 years from my last injury. So
that's quite a good time frame. Is that quite a good period to go injury free?
Yeah. Well, for like the last 10 years, I think I've only had 3 significant injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did once upon a time run a marathon on a broken foot, didn't you?
Yes, yeah. My first World Championship marathon, 3 broken bones.
I mean, that's pretty hardcore.
At the time, it was a case of, I'm doing this because, I didn't know if I'd ever get another Great Britain best. So, you just do it and just deal with the outcome, basically.
So when it comes to dealing with injuries, do you think, because you're good with your cross training, you do a lot of cross training through injuries, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
think you've kind of sussed out your physical plan throughout an injury?
Yeah, it's just kind of keeping the heart and lungs working at some point. Obviously, you're not going to be able to replicate the pounding of running, but I always tell people, whether you're injured or not, your heart and lungs don't know if you're sitting on a bike, on a cross trainer, swimming, running, whatever. As long as you're getting your heart rate up and your lungs are burning, then they're getting a workout. So, don't be scared to substitute an easy run for some non-impact work. But yeah, I've had times where I've overdone the cross training. We get it into our heads that because we're not running, we've got to do like 3 times as much. And
See, I thought that was the rule with the bike. I've always gone off, like using, so I've just had a stress fracture, using the bike, and I can't get anywhere near 3 times as much. So I've always thought kind of 3 times the time period that you'd have been running, or the distance on the bike.
That's what I've always thought. Like, if you go out on a bike, if you look at the cyclists, they do probably do like 3 times as much as runners, but they can do that because it's non-impact. But to get the same training benefit, you don't need to do that. And it's probably only like the last 2 or 3 years that I've really discovered that. Well, I've kind of probably always known, but kind of really admitted it. And it's things like looking at Zwift. I was looking on there for workouts, and I was like, right, I need one that's about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get the benefit. And like, none of them are over 40 minutes. And some of them, it's like 15 seconds, literally eyeballs out, and then 6 minutes recovery. I'm like, that's not going to do anything. But then when you read around it, you're like, actually it is. That's a really good VO2 kind of stimulus. And, it's like, yeah, you don't need to do 3 times as much and be sat on a Zwift turbo or whatever for like hours on end. So, yeah.
It's quite hard anyway, sat on Zwift for that amount of time, being on the bike, isn't it?
Yeah. I think my most is 1 hour 45. I did 1-2, and I didn't mean to do 1-2. I just got on the wrong course, and I was like, once I'd hit the mountain, I was like, I'm not giving up. I'm just getting slower and slower. But yeah, I did it in the end.
Amazing. Right, so let's I just want to briefly touch upon the start of, because I love hearing how people got into running, and I think with you it's very much in your blood, isn't it? You were very young, kind of athletic, and your dad was a marathon runner.
He was, yes. Yeah.
So it was kind of ingrained, that was it from the start, off you go.
Yep, literally, like the day I was born, my dad had to miss a local 10K race. And, it took until standing on the start line at Rio for him to forgive us for that.
So Olympics is good, right? You've got to see Olympics, you're forgiven that.
Yeah, that was like, okay, I'll let you off now. It was worth it. But yeah, our house was kind of the hub for him and his mates to meet, especially on a Sunday morning, and that kind of, the wives would come round because a lot of them had kids the same age as me and my sister. We'd go to the local park with our mums, and the dads would go off for runs. And to me, that was just normal. It's what dads did.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of, I would do the local fun runs when my dad was racing, because let's face it, watching your dad run a marathon is not that interesting.
Yeah. Even when kids to races, they hate it.
We went down to London a few times to watch him do that, and we were like, can we go to Hamleys? Can we go to the tower? Anything apart from stand on the sidelines and you're waiting for 2 hours for him to run past for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, the local fun runs, I would do all of them. And I was a very active kid, swimming, gymnastics, dance, you name it, I did it. I was on all the different school teams. I was never good at any of them, kind of your average Joe across most. But yeah, just loved kind of running about, letting off steam, really. And then when I went to senior school, I made a new friend at senior school, and she was a member of the Harriers. And I think it was the October half term. And she was like, oh, we're going to Flamingo Land, which is a theme park up here. I was like, oh, cool, can I come? She's like, well, you've got to be a member of the running club. I was like, right. So I went home and said to my dad, like, I want to join the Harriers. And his face kind of lit up. He's like, at last. I was like, yeah, I don't want to run. I just want to go Flamingo Land.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
So yeah, I went to Flamingo Land, and I always tell this story, especially at schools, because it's quite apt because it's been quite a roller coaster ride since then. So yeah, kind of, 31 years later, I'm still pounding the streets, and I think my friend packed him like over the winter that year. So
it's just really did just want Flamingo Land.
yeah, she was like all for it and everything. And then, at that age, you are very transient, aren't you? You don't stick to things for very long. But I made a group of new friends at the running club. We were all from different schools, and that was pretty much the only time that we saw each other. So kept you going back. Tried my hand at a few different events at a young age. Kind of, I fancied doing the long jump, and the long jump coach kind of looked at us and was like, "Nah, you're about 3 foot tall. Like, you're not going to be a good long jumper." Same with the hurdles. I think the hurdles were like up to my chest height or something. So yeah, I had one go at that and fell over and didn't go back to the hurdle group. But yeah, I eventually kind of gravitated towards the distance because, I could do it, and it was where the rest of my friends were. And yeah, just, the rest is history really. I stuck at it, and like I say, I wasn't great. I would do the local cross country races, and I'd be in the back end of the fields rather than the front end. And all those girls that were up the front ends, I mean, we had some really talented runners from the northeast that were winning English schools and English national cross country into counties and that, but they're nowhere to be seen now. Most of them got to that age where it became their choice to do it, or they'd been training really hard at a young age and then they had nowhere to progress, or they were just early maturers, and as soon as that start working hard, they're like, yeah, let's not bother with this. Yeah. But yeah, I just kind of kept plodding on, and eventually, I think I won my first race when I was about 18 or something. And then, yeah, just kept on. I just loved the sport, I loved running, loved the people that you meet, and yeah, just kept on going, and eventually made it like 24 years I think it was later, made it up to the Olympic Games. So definitely a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes, marathon, not a sprint, and it's something obviously that you excel at, the marathon. But I do love that. I love that you've shown that. I guess some people do take it really seriously. Some youngsters take it really seriously, and there's that risk of burnout, both physically and mentally. You lose the joy for it. But you definitely.
And a lot of them are just getting pushed because the parents are pushing them. It's the parents that want it, not them.
Yeah.
I've seen parents shouting and blazing at kind of coaches, team managers at English schools and all sorts, because they didn't think that their little Sophie or Johnny or whatever should be, they should have been further up the field, and they weren't. And you're like, well, it's not the coaches or the team manager's fault, it's your kids' fault for not trying harder, or maybe that's just their level. But yeah, like even now when I go to the local cross country meets and you hear the parents and they're screaming at the kids, and you're like, just chill out, man. The most important thing is that these kids enjoy it. It doesn't matter if they're winning or if they're last, just let them enjoy it, and
find the love for it for themselves.
Yeah. Just because they're near the back of the field doesn't mean that they're not trying the hardest, and doesn't mean that they've got huge things to come further down the line.
Exactly.
And especially with the lads as well. Yeah. People mature at different rates.
Yeah.
Like I say, I was probably about I'm only 5 foot now, so you can imagine what I was like at 11, 12, 13.
Yeah.
And you're competing against same age girls, but they look like the 21 sort of thing. So of course I'm going to be at a disadvantage. But yeah, they were the ones that once they got up to 18, and most people had then started to level out a bit, they're the ones that stopped, and the kind of later maturers came through.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, right. So you've done a whole heap of distances. You've represented England in GB at 10K and half marathons, and last year was the 50K World Champs.
Yep. Yeah, that was a kind of a a random one for most people. I think I took people by surprise with that one. But to me, like, it's something I had my eye on for a few years because I looked at the British record and thought, I can do that. Like, when I'm training for a marathon, I'll go right up to the marathon distance in training. And I don't do my long runs slow. And there's a few times where I've went, if I hang on for like another 5 miles, I could break the British record for the 50k just in training. So yeah, and it was kind of, I got to the point where I ticked off everything else that I wanted to do. I knew, like, 2 years beforehand that I didn't want to do the Doha World Championships because conditions would just be absolute nightmare. So it was just a case of, right, let's give this a go. Good opportunity, perfect timing, got nothing else to lose, and went into it, got into really good shape. I think if I'd ran Berlin Marathon a few weeks later without running the 50k, I would have broke 2:30 quite easily. But yeah, just went into it, and my big focus was to win. With it being a World Championships, I didn't even know what the world record was until about 4.5 kilometers to go, and the team manager shouted, "You're going to smash the world record!" And I looked up, I was like, "What is the world record?" So yeah, kind of crossing the finish line, and to hear them announce, broke the 31-year-old world record. Oh, sorry, it's a world best officially, not a world record.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, just added kind of the icing into the cake, and it means that I don't have to go back and do another one because I've ticked all the boxes now.
Oh, so you don't want to go back and do it just to see maybe if you could take a little bit more off?
Well, looking back on that day, I think I could have run faster because, like I said, my focus was on winning. So I was running at an effort level where I knew I could sustain it for the full 50k.
Yeah.
And I went through the marathon in like 2:36, I think it was. And like I say, I know I was in sub 2:30 shape.
Yeah.
So I probably could have still went through the marathon like another 2-3 minutes quicker and, give myself room to die, so to speak. But yeah, because I wasn't focusing on any time, I didn't even know how to tackle it. I remember, like, I was messaging people like Steve Way and Holly Rush going, "How do you pace a 50k? What pace do I go out at? If this is marathon pace, do I go 5 seconds slower, 10 seconds, or do I just run at marathon pace and hope for the best?" So yeah, it was like a pretty big learning curve. But to judge my effort levels, every time I was going up the road and the lads were coming down, because it was a mixed race, I was shouting for them. So I was like, "Go on, lads, go on, Paul, you're looking great, go on, Dan." And like, we finished and they were all like, "How the hell could you talk so much when you were running?"
While smashing a world record.
I was like, well, I knew if I could do that, then I wasn't kind of, redlining it.
Yeah.
I was still running comfortably, and the chances of blowing up in that last 8k were very slim.
Yeah.
But there was still a bit of a mental, as soon as I crossed that 42 kilometre, because they had the marker out saying 42 kilometre, I was like, I've never raced beyond this. I'd trained beyond it. I'd done 2 30-mile runs in training, but it was kind of like, right, what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
So like my 2 slowest miles were 27 and 28. And then I kind of clicked out of it and came back round and finished strong again. But yeah, looking back, I finished with a 5:37 last mile. So I do think there was still probably another 30 seconds to a minute to come off it if I'd really went for it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, it's amazing that 31 years you said the record was there for, was it? 31 years.
Yeah, 31 years. Some South African, and I'm really bad because I've forgotten her name, and apparently she was like really, really good ultra runner, which again, it was like, I felt a bit bad because they were all saying like, "Oh, you've broke such a record. She was amazing." And that I was like, oh, my knowledge of ultras is zero, so I have no idea. I felt a bit
too casual. Far too casual.
Yeah. So, but there's some good athletes went for it lately, like Camille Herron tried to break it, Gerda Stein tried to break it, and Gerda's went on to run 2:26 now. So I'm hoping that she stays away for the 50k for a few more years.
So you have it for a few years.
Yeah, I want to hold on to it for a few more years yet. But I think even a lot of the Brits, if they tried it, they're well capable of breaking that world record and going to sub 3:05. But it's just getting them to do it, because it's not really a glamour event. There's no money in it, you know, and while they can still go chasing 2:30s in the marathon, they're not going to go, let's go and do a 50K, even though there is, you know, the opportunity to win a world championship. But again, because it's not a World Athletics World Championship, it's only IAU, so International Ultra, which it's umbrellaed by World Athletics. But yeah, it's kind of, you haven't got the glamour attached to it. So, you know, I don't think the girls would have a go, even though, you know, the 2:33 girls, they're going to get nothing on an international stage on a 2:33 marathon. You know, it's 2:29:30 now to make teams.
Yeah.
But they could go out and win a world championship on the 50K and, you know, potentially break my world record. But we won't have.
No, we'll keep that one quiet for a little bit.
Yeah.
And have you still got the Wonder Woman record?
As far as I know, I have, yes. Yeah. I saw the Guinness Book of World Records in Sainsbury's the other day. I was like, just have a flick through, and it is in there from this year's book. So, but yeah, I think, you know, I did 1:18 for that, and I think that's that'll probably take more breaking than the 50K one.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But again, it's something that, you know, any of the girls could do it, but they're not going to kind of, you know.
How many fancy putting on an outfit and running it?
Exactly. There's too many of them take themselves too serious to have a bit of fun like that.
Yeah, and actually, I interviewed Charlotte Taylor Greene, and she said about one of your pieces of advice when she first did the marathon was to have fun.
Yeah.
And what a difference that made to her, not taking it too seriously when she was out there. You know, she was high-fiving and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that helps more athletes?
And yeah, there's too many of them, you know. The thing, you know, I'm probably going to insult a few people here, but they think that they're absolutely brilliant because they can run like, you know, 2:33, 2:34, 2:35, which, don't get us wrong, they're fantastic times, especially for women. But they're not world beaters at that time. Like I said, you're not going to make a championship team with those times. But they act like they're an Olympic level, and, you know, some of them even kind of act like they're Olympic champions. And you just want to kind of give them a shake and say, stop being so serious, have some fun instead, and you'll probably run faster. You know, don't get caught up in, you got to chase these splits, and, you know, there's so many of you, and you say, oh, I'm going to run 2:28 in my next marathon, and they're nowhere near it. They end up like 2:32 and they're absolutely dying to death in the last 10K. And you're like, just chill out a bit, you know, and see what happens.
Yeah.
I know when I ran my PB, I had my watch on, but I had it on time of day screen, so it was running behind that. Didn't look at any of my splits and just ran. And I remember just past halfway, my parents and my nephew were there, and I swerved across the road to give him a high five and everything. And yeah, there's so many pictures of me during that London Marathon where I've just got a massive smile on my face.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying it. The last 3 miles were a bit painful, but, you know,
but it was worth it.
Yeah, it was.
And, you know, and these incredible times and these memories are then interlinked, and it's a positive experience. Not that, you know, I ran such a time, but it was a miserable, you know, I was checking my watch and I was just fixated on doing this and doing that, and that focus. But you miss the simple things that actually make something special. So like high-fiving your nephew, that's special. That's, you know, like when you ran your PB, it makes it more special.
I mean, I blame him for not going sub 2:29 because I lost those 6 seconds.
6 seconds.
But
6 seconds, that is a swerve.
But, you know, it meant a lot for him for me to come over and acknowledge him and everything. And he was only he must have been about 8 at the time. So, you know, it was like, he was all proud and that, you know, oh, that's my auntie.
Yeah.
And, you know, just to have that probably, you know, means more than those 6 seconds because, you know, at the end of the day, it's a marathon. Kind of inspiring and making your nephew proud is, you know, that's worth much more. But yeah, you just got to enjoy it out there because your time is limited as well. You know, that's what I've found these last 2 years as well. Your time is limited and, you know, you don't know what's around the corner. You could get hit by an injury tomorrow and not be able to ever do it again. So just enjoy it and enjoy the little victories that you have along the way. I think that's something that I've been guilty of not doing. Kind of, you just literally, you'll run a PB or something, and instead of celebrating it, you're just focusing on your next one. Like, right, how can I get faster? And so, yeah, it's kind of, that would be my advice to kind of the girls just now. Just chill out a little bit, you know, enjoy it. It's not a chore. It's not a sacrifice. It's your choice to do this, and just,
yeah, have the love for it.
Yeah.
I do love that, because I think it was it must have been, I think it was Matt Clowes that I was speaking to, and I asked him about turning professional, and he is like, no, because he wants to keep the joy of running, and for him it's, you know, running's running, but he needs other things in his life to be able to keep that passion alive.
I definitely agree with that. Like, I've been full-time for 5 years now, and it wasn't really a conscious decision to go full-time. I had an argument with my manager at work. I used to work in sweatshop, and we got taken over by Sports Direct, and the whole kind of ethos of the company changed, and I had an argument with the manager and walked out. But at the time, it was kind of, you know, looking back, it was a really good decision, because it was 18 months before Rio, and it was like 6 months before Berlin, where I ran the Olympic qualifying time. And if I hadn't have quit work, you know, I'd be looking saying, you know, would I have still done that and whatever? I probably would have, because I was on a 0 hours contract, so I could go away for training camps if I wanted to anyway. But a lot of people, you'll see them, they'll go full time, and they'll just, performance will go backwards. And it's because they'll either think, right, I've made this big jump to go full time, let's train as hard as I can, and they'll increase training and everything, and they'll be doing triple days, and, you know, they'll get injured, they'll overtrain, and you're like, no, just keep your training the same level, exactly what you've done all these years, but use that extra time on your hands to rest and recover. So you can get your afternoon naps in, you can get a physio at better times, you know, you're not training through till 9 o'clock at night, and then getting home, getting your tea at 10, back up again at 5 in the morning, you know, get your sleep in, do your rolling, do your stretching. But yeah, some people are just like, oh, I'm a full-time athlete, I've got to train literally 24/7 now. And, you know, they have any downtime that they do, you know, when they should be sitting having a nap or whatever, I can bet you bottom dollar they'd be on the internet looking at running and stalking people on Strava, and, you know, they have nothing else in their life. They're just a runner. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, that gets taken away, or the performances decrease. And then they've got this identity of a runner, and then they have this kind of massive, oh my God, what am I going to do with my life now? And you're like, well, you know, a lot of them are still quite young. There's still loads of things you can do, but yeah, kind of going full time, it's not for everyone. And I think it's more important for like the middle distance and the sprint guys, who they can train literally 9 till 5 and get everything in. Whereas with us, it's, you know, it's not it's tough. I've been there myself, working full time and running 120 mile a week. And you look back now and go, how the hell did I manage that? But it's doable. Where there's a will, there's a way. And, you know, back then, if I'd went full time during those times, there's no way I would have made to what I have done in the end.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think you have perhaps more mature way of thinking about it now? Now you've kind of gone through the experiences, that you would know now how to utilize that time, you know, to train smarter, not harder, use that recovery. That interesting you say that if you had, you know, back then.
Yeah. And I had better people around us, like 2015, when I did eventually go full time, I had better people around us to kind of drill that into us. You don't need to train any harder than you're already training. You know, you've now got this free time, just, you know, get an afternoon nap in, make sure you're eating correctly and everything, and you're not just grabbing microwave meals because they take 90 seconds rather than 10 minutes of cooking. And yeah, if I'd done that kind of even 3-4 years earlier, it would have been completely different advice that I was getting. And, you know, just being around different camps and different athletes, I learned a lot. I'm a person that always asks questions. I bug the life out of people, just constantly asking questions. And being my own coach, I felt like I needed to get as much knowledge as possible.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is kind of practical real life knowledge, not knowledge that you can get from a textbook or reading articles or anything. So yeah, it was a good time for me. Like you say, I was more mature in my thinking, and I wasn't just like, right, let's ramp it up and see how long it takes to kill myself.
Yeah, but there's lots of people, and I think even kind of just recreational runners can get a bit like that, can get a bit wrapped up with hitting a certain mileage, you know, so it looks on Strava they've got a certain mileage each week and stuff, and I think there's so much overtraining, and it is.
And I think girls are the best
push
for it. Yeah, there's so many girls I know, they're like, they've not broken 3 hours, you know, a lot of them haven't even broken 18 minutes for 5K. Yet they're putting in 90, 100-mile weeks. And, you know, if they go over an 8-minute mile, they've got this massive long explanation on Strava or on Instagram about why they went so slow. And you're like, well, actually, that's not slow. You know, for your level of performance, that's probably the pace that you should be running your easy runs at.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a lot of it now. Again, it's something that I didn't have even 5 years ago. It wasn't quite as big. You know, we didn't have Strava and, you know, Instagram and all that. So you weren't getting little snapshots of people's lives. So I suppose I had it a little bit easier in that aspect.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I do think there is this culture of explaining why your easy miles are at a certain pace. It doesn't matter, it's easy miles, and it can vary every day. It depends on how your body is, how rested you are, which most people aren't rested enough. But whether you're dehydrated, whether you've eaten right the night before, there's so many factors that can affect your pace. But it is what it is. And if it's easy miles, that's all they are, it's easy miles. So,
and it's funny because, like I said, girls seem to be fixated in everything needs to be like, you know, somewhere in that 7-minute miling range. Whereas the lads, they'll just, you know, you've got guys who run 2:10, 2:12 for a marathon, and they'll quite happily run 7:10, 7:20s for an easy run. Whereas a girl running 3 hours would be like, oh my God, I'm not running that slow. And you're like, but it's not slow.
So as a coach, because you are coaching now as well, you've gone on board with Team Project Run.
Yes, yeah, that was announced yesterday.
Congratulations. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to get stuck into that.
You've got so much knowledge from your experience and from kind of going through it yourself that it'd be great to pass it on to others. Is that kind of the way forward for you a little bit now, is to help others, coaching others and passing on your experience?
Yep, like ideally I want to, my club's probably not the best club to do it, but I want to go down to a local club, trackside, stopwatch, and, you know, coach at that level sort of thing. When I mentioned I wanted to get into coaching, there were so many people, oh, you'll have international athletes like wanting you coaching and doing that. I was like, I'm not really that fussed on that. I mean, one, there were a lot of hard work, you know, the high maintenance. But, you know, for me, I just want to pass on my love for the sport. And like you said, I'm the first to put my hands up and say, I am not an expert. You know, I'm learning all the way along, and linking up with Team Project Run, we've got Lloyd and we've got Ross and we've got Tom. And it's also a great opportunity for me to pick their brains on coaching methods. You know, Ross could teach me a hell of a lot about training for the shorter distances. Tom can teach us a hell of a lot about ultras, but we all bring our own kind of uniqueness. And yeah, I just want to pass on. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and if I can stop one person making some of those mistakes and fulfilling their potential, then, you know, that's job done and a bonus to me. But yeah, it's just kind of, you know, I haven't spent these last 5 years being full-time and 10 years being international just to have all that knowledge sitting in my brain and not doing anything. I think that would be a bit selfish for the sport. I want to now give something back, and yeah, you know, I might find somebody that I can take on to international levels, but at the same time, if I can get somebody from a 25-minute 5K to a 20-minute 5K, I'm going to get that same buzz of excitement that I've done some good.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the fact that you're not afraid to share your mistakes. Some people will be like, no, I did everything right. You know, there's nothing wrong. You know.
Even myself, I look back at some bits and I'll go like, why did I do that? You know, there's like weeks where I got just carried away with mileage. I ran 139 mile one week. I was like,
Huge.
why? Like, I'm such an idiot. And, just, yeah, I haven't gotten everything right. I'd say probably about 90% in my own training I've gotten right. But I also fully understand and appreciate that just because it's worked for me doesn't mean it'll work for anybody else. So anybody that I do take on board, it won't be a case of, well, this is what I used to do, so I'm going to give it to you. Because it's the same when people look at my Strava and go, oh, I'm going to try that session. I'm like, really? It's took me 20 years to get to the level where I can do that session. Adjust it and accordingly to your level.
And you've had to go through the kind of what works and what doesn't work. You've had to go through that process.
Trial and error. That's the one thing that I'll say to the athletes that I take on. Don't judge us on the first 6 weeks, because you need at least 6 to 10 weeks to kind of, hopefully I won't be changing people's trainers completely. I'm expecting the runners that I take on that probably are experienced runners. I'm not going to get a beginner doing a couch to 5K. So yeah, I'm not going to do 100% flip training over, but any sort of kind of bedding in period is needed. So yeah, that's the one thing I'll say. Don't judge us on the first 6 weeks. Give us a 6 months. If things haven't changed and you haven't improved in 6 months, then you can say, shut up, get lost. But other than that, just give it time, because you've got to build up a relationship. You've got to learn what makes an athlete tick, what their lifestyle's like. And, you could give them what on paper looks like an absolutely fantastic training plan. But, if it's not suitable for them, then they're not going to get any improvement, more likely going to get injured, ill, or whatever. So, yeah, it's going to be, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be exciting.
Yeah, it sounds exciting. We've got to remember as well, there's no quick fix in running, is there? It's all about the consistency and showing.
And it's not one size fits all either.
Yeah.
And it's like I said on Instagram the other day to somebody, it's not about 1 week of fantastic training or one fantastic workout. It's about being consistent.
I saw this and I loved it. Yeah.
I'd rather see B+ work for 6 months, unbroken consistency, than a month at A-star where you're bashing out the miles, you're bashing out the sessions, but then a month later you're injured and you don't make that line.
That's always been my problem. I think I've always been one of these, you start a marathon training cycle and you think, and you go pedal to the metal at the beginning because you feel good and you can keep smashing it, and you perhaps do things a bit too quick. And all that enthusiasm in the first month, and then I usually end up broken, and then the consistency goes, there you go, you're never going to kind of improve on that because you're not being consistent.
No. And I think that's where I've been lucky. I've been very kind of injury free over kind of the main years that I've been competing. And I always split my marathon training up to like 3 blocks. So, and my sessions, if people look at them on Strava, they'd be like, yeah, she's in like 240 shape or something. But you're like, well, you're not looking at the rest of my lifestyle. You don't know what I'm doing in the gym and whatever. And it's just building all of those up. And as we go through the marathon block, you normally see like them improving sort of thing. And it might not be that the pace in itself is improving, but the heart rate at that pace will be getting lower.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of come that last 4 weeks block when I'm starting to like nail into the marathon pace and sharpen up and everything, that's when you start to see kind of the good work coming through off me. The rest is just a case of getting it done with damage limitation on your body.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking of training blocks, what's next for you?
Good question.
A bit washed out this year, because you were planning to do Chicago Marathon this year.
Yes. So my big plan, if you'd spoke to me literally this time last year, I would have said Tokyo Marathon in March, which I got to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't the most pleasant experience, but I got to do it. And then Chicago Marathon in October, and then I was retiring. But, I got to do Tokyo, like I say, and then 3 weeks later, the world changed to what it is now. Everything is now completely different. I hope to one day still do Chicago, because I'll then have my 6-star.
Yeah.
And for me, it would be actually an 8-star because Worlds and Olympics are classed as majors.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You don't actually get an 8-star medal,
I was
but
going to say, is there a different medal? Because you've got
no,
6 stars.
unfortunately, because there's actually only one female ever done it before.
Really?
Yeah, Edna Kipnagat has done all 8, and there's myself, Joan Bernut Samlinson, and Dina Castor
Yeah.
sitting on 5 majors plus Worlds and Olympics. So
It's a race.
we're in a race, and all 3 of us have a different major left to complete.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a nice little race to be in. But Chicago is one of these where literally I could wait another 5-10 years and go across and run it. It's not like I'm saying I want to do an Olympics or I want to do a Worlds where you've got a time scale on it. So yeah, got injured pacing at London.
Yeah.
And struggled pretty much ever since. I'm back in. I just need to get some consistency in now, which quite apt for what we've just been talking about. But I'm hoping to build up to, when I say these numbers, for me, they're tiny because I'm used to running like 110, 115 mile a week. I'm hoping to get up to 50 mile a week by the end of the year, which I now realise that we've only got 3 weeks left. It's one of those, I'm like, we've got loads of time left till January. No, we're midway through December.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I can get up to 50 mile by the end of this year, and then add in some tempos in January, hopefully some sessions in February. But I'm just playing it by ear because I don't know how my body's going to respond. I'm 42 now. I'm getting on a bit. I've got literally hundreds of thousands of miles that I've pounded my body through. But
and it's interesting, actually. You put a post up, it must have been recently, where you talked about comparison and comparing against your younger self and what your body could do then.
Yeah. Even just a year, 18 months ago, like this time last year, I was still quite confident that I could run sub 2:30 and have a crack at the qualifying time for Olympics. And now I'm like, I don't think I'd break 2:45 if I tried to run a marathon. But yeah,
but you said that great line, comparison is a thief of joy, and it's right, isn't it? You've got to kind of go with what you're
really, if I keep on looking back on what I did, 2, 3, 4 years ago, I'm never going to enjoy running again because I know I'm never going to be able to run those times again. So, I never thought, just those few years back, that I'd be one of those athletes that go, oh, age group, a master's PB and whatever. But that's kind of what's kept us going in the last year. And, I've got and it's been hard because I have one little fairy on my shoulder saying, it's fine that these girls are now running faster and whatever. Then you've got this other one going, no, you can still do that. And it's that kind of argument. And when I lined up for Antrim half, I'd pretty much made peace with myself that the likes of Lily and Sam Harrison and all them, they were just going to go off. And I was like, I know I can't run 71 minutes, so just let them go and don't panic. But then I was looking around us, and this is absolutely no offense to the girls I was running with, but I was like, I normally beat these girls by like 3 minutes. What am I doing back here?
Yeah.
But that's just where I am now, and it's been hard to kind of get used to that and to come to terms with that. And in the past, I would have hated it if one of those girls that I was running with ended up beating us, would be like, oh, I beat Aly Dixon. But I was like, so what? I'm not at my best, but I'm now like, take that victory, because I did that. And I remember beating Sonia O'Sullivan one time, and she was about 5 years retired. I was like, yes, beat Sonia O'Sullivan. Yeah. And, it's good for these girls. If it pushes them on, then, just turn your ego off and, think of it as nice that they're actually celebrating that you've beaten you, because it means that you have, you've had an impact somewhere, and that's what they want to celebrate. So, but yeah, it has been, and even now, like I got my invitation to the Olympic trials, and I knew I wasn't doing it. I've turned it down, but it took a good week to actually send the email, because it was like, I might be able to get back into like 2:35 shape, but I'm like, well, 235 is nothing. Is it worth putting my body through for a 235? And then I'm thinking, well, some people would kill for a 235, but yeah, it's just coming to terms with the body is now slowing down. And the good thing is I can look at what I have achieved over the last 10 years, and
which is an enormous amount. I mean,
I've literally went above and beyond anything I could ever imagine. When I left school, I wrote in my record of achievement, I'd love to one day run in the Olympic Games. And it's one of those things that every kid writes, lads are like, I want to play in the Premiership or the World Cup or something.
Yeah.
But, how many people actually get
do
there?
What they say, yeah.
And, one of the big things that hit home to us on how special being an Olympian is, it's only 6,500 Brits ever competed in an Olympic Games summer or winter.
That's a pretty special club.
Yeah. It's like, you get local road races that are bigger than that.
You do, yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. It's such a small number.
Yeah, we wouldn't even fill like one stand at the Stadium of Light. So.
Oh, wow, yeah, and it's something that will never be taken away from you. You are an Olympian.
Yeah. My Christmas tree is hiding it just now, but on this picture behind,
I've got
a card in the middle that says "Once an Olympian, always an Olympian."
Yeah, absolutely.
And what we got given at the games, but yeah, that's it. No matter what I do going forward from now, if I did do the Olympic trials and I trailed in last, nobody could ever take it away that I've been there and I've got the T-shirt.
Yeah, you have. And just everything in between that as well is just incredible. And look at last year, the 50k.
Yeah, like an added bonus. I remember saying to Barry Fudge, he sent us a lovely email about 2 years ago saying, like, it was about funding. I hadn't gotten the London Marathon funding. And he's like, but I want you to know I still believe in you. I still think you can, compete at a very high level. And I said to him then, I was like, that really means a lot, because this was the back end of 2018. And there's one of my big things this year is that I've lost the belief in myself. But to know that somebody like him, independent but quite influential, still has that belief in it, it kind of give me some of that belief back. And I said, like, I want to try for one more World Championship team next September. And he thought I meant Doha at the time. But I was like, so Barry, the 50k. He was like, you crazy. He says, but you're going to be great. He says, I know you will. And then after that race, he sent us a lovely text message saying, it just sums you up. You've found your event now. I was like, yeah, but I'm not doing another one.
Never say never. But I do love that it just took a few words for one special person, and that was it. Off on that journey, and just I love that. I really do.
If I hadn't gotten that email at that moment in time, it was after I'd DNF'd at Chicago, I literally would have just said then, that's it. See you later. But yeah, it was kind of literally I got that email and it made us feel 10 foot tall again, and I got straight onto Boston. Can I run Boston in April? And they're like, yeah, come over to Boston. And that again just got my love for it. I absolutely loved Boston. It's amazing.
Oh no, I see. Boston is one that I am dying to run. The atmosphere there must be amazing.
Honestly, it's amazing because it's just so different. I think New York has a similar type of feel. You don't go there to run fast, so you're not thinking about your splits and anything. You go there to conquer Boston. It's technically a downhill course, but it's so tough. It's like if you do
Heartbreak Hill.
Yeah, Heartbreak Hill actually isn't too bad.
Yeah,
I got to the top and I was like, is that it?
This is what everybody was on about.
You start running down the other side at 21 miles and you're like, oh my God, what's happened to my quads?
Oh, great.
It's about getting that first 15 mile right. If you go too fast in those downhills in the first 15 miles, you've got no chance in the last 5 miles. But once you turn onto Boylston Street, the last, I think it's about 800 meters, the crowds are just so big. Yeah, like there's crowds all the way along the course. There's not a meter where there's not somebody shouting. And yeah, they're just over-enthusiastic Americans. They love it.
Yeah, I love it. And they probably love it even more. Maybe you should do Chicago as Wonder Woman. More records.
These American marathons, you're not allowed to dress up.
Are you not?
No.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's a shame, because I can imagine them really getting behind Wonder Woman.
You'd think in America they'd be like big on like costumes and that,
Yeah.
but New York, Chicago, Boston, no fancy dress.
Oh, it's not a London then. Not a London with toilets and rhinos running around.
No, London is like, it's special and unique compared to the other majors.
Yeah, I do love London. I think it's probably one of the nice things about actually spectating at London, cheering on at the sides, is spotting all the different outfits going by. You know, you've had all the fast runners, you've had all you lot go, and now you've got all the different dress ups. It's always good fun.
Yeah, we missed the rhinos and dinosaurs at London this year.
Yeah. I can't imagine it was the same. They should have probably had a token fancy dress just following. Oh, brilliant. Well, I've absolutely loved speaking to you today, and I love all of your experience, and I love all your tales, and hopefully there will be lots of people that will watch this and pick up some really useful real life tips when it comes to their training and the general sport of running.
Just if I can hand over some of my enthusiasm for the sport, and like I said, these last 2 months I've really been kicked in the balls with injuries and everything, but the passion and the love for it has never left. And there's days where I've got zero motivation to get out of bed because it's cold and it's wet and you can hear the wind howling, but then I remember the feeling that you get when you come back, and you're snugly warm and you've got your endorphins going about, and you can't get that from any other sport, I don't think. You sitting in Swift or in the gym or whatever, and I'm sure people that are cyclists or proper hardcore gym buddies get that same from them, but for me it's running that does that, and there's no substitute.
Yeah, absolutely, I get that. I've tried so hard with the bike to find the same thing, and it just doesn't quite happen. I totally get that. Although I say going out on the trails on the bike is a lot better than Zwift. When I'm out on the trails, that's quite nice. Hard, but nice.
I'm just too scared to go out on the roads.
The roads are scary.
Especially where I live. It's manic.
I worry about I worry about cars, because cars do not give you the space. They come up behind you, but I worry more about myself. I'm so clumsy, and like if there's a pothole I'll probably gravitate towards it. I'm that kind of person.
I just bought a new bike, and it's a carbon road bike, Boardman, and it's been sat on the turbo. It's a £1,000 bike, which isn't a lot in terms of bikes, but for me buying it
on the turbo,
I got it cheap on eBay, but it's wasted on there. But I just don't go out. There's a slightest bit of water on the road, I won't go out on it. And I've got a gravel bike that I'll take outdoors, but also it's like it's too cold on the bike just now. It's not like running where you warm up quite quick. You just freeze on the bike.
Oh, you do. You get so cold. It's okay going uphill, you get quite warm, and then as soon as you go downhill or a bit of flat, you try and go faster to try and get your heart rate up, and it just doesn't work.
I know when I was training for Boston, because I was trying to get in some downhill training, so I got my man to drop us off literally 26 miles away, and we've got an old disused railway line as part of the coast-to-coast cycle route, and it's nicely gentle downhill. So I ran down there, and I got my dad to cycle up to meet us with my drinks and everything. And it was literally the worst day ever. It was snowing and everything, and my dad's like coming up. I don't know how many layers of clothing he had on and everything, but he was absolutely frozen. Whereas I'm like stripping off my clothes, but yeah, I did this. And he's like,
oh, that's cruel. How can you do that to him?
Well, he kept on getting his one back, because I would be saying, I want my drinks every 5k. And there was a few little inclines, and he'd stop like halfway up a hill and try to hand us my bottle. I'm like, what are you doing? It's on a hill. He was like, but you said 5k. I was like, yeah, but use your brain. Reach to the top of the hill. I don't want to grab a bottle halfway up. And then I get like all, we never took any drinks when we did them. I'd be lucky if I took a sip of water. And I'm like, oh God, here we
go. You're not hardcore enough. You need to not be doing the water.
Yeah, that's what he'd be saying. He's like, we didn't have carbon fiber shoes, and we didn't have this. I'm like, no, you actually want Dunlop Green Flash. And you're so old that marathons were probably even 25 mile back then.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. Well, it's been fantastic. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I can't wait to share this interview with everybody because I think they will love it. I love it. I love hearing from you.
Thank you. It's very nice. You're making me blush.
Aww. Lovely to speak to you.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me on.
Bye.
Here to talk.
I really hope that you enjoyed my talk with Aly today. She is really down to earth, a lovely person, and has so much experience, so much knowledge to share with everybody. For all of Aly's social media links, please do check the description below. Be sure to go and give her a follow. I will be back next week with the amazing Russell Bentley talking all about his recent experience doing the Paddy Buckley Winter Round. If you have enjoyed this episode today, please do make sure to give a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when future episodes are out. Other than that, stay safe and happy running.